Welcome in to the Bonesville Pregame Podcast. Al Myatt, joined by Kevin Monroe. Kevin, of course, an outstanding defensive back for the Pirates, culminating his career in 1999 with that illustrious team. And Kevin, the Pirates are looking to become bowl eligible this Saturday by virtue of a 45-14 win at Temple. Put them at 5-3 on the season last Saturday. So many good things to talk about coming out of that Temple game, and we'll start with 358 yards rushing.
I mean, just really impressive. I think Trevor Engelman was averaging about 9 yards a carry with his 77 yards. London Montgomery ran the football well. You got one carry by Anthony Smith that goes 45 yards for a touchdown. Marlon Gunn ran the ball for 6 yards a carry. So it was just, everybody chipped in, and it was an impressive football game. And so this kind of started with Tulane, right? We get to the Tulane game, and Engelman, TJ Engelman has kind of his breakout where he's, averaging over 4 yards a carry. He's running the ball hard. They all of a sudden decided, okay, he may be the guy that needs to be right there with London and getting carries. And then you fast forward that to Tulsa, right? And then Tulsa, they finally have kind of a breakout game running the football. They run it well, consistently. London Montgomery has his best game, over 100 yards. And then now you go to Temple, and you're like, okay, we've got one full game of showing we can run the football. Let's see if we can make that two full games, now. And this was just their coming out party. I mean, Temple wasn't a team that was just getting blasted in the run game prior to this past weekend. They held their own. They were competitive. They were a team a lot like us in terms of, winning the games they were supposed to win, losing the games they were supposed to lose, but, fighting to be up to the top of the conference. And that was just a total just dismantling in terms of being able to play smash mouth football with someone and run it right at them and dare them to stop it. And so that was as impressive a day of running the football as I've seen, in my 23 years on the air with the Pirates.
Kevin, of course, provides color commentary for the Pirate Radio Network, and I guess you'll be in the booth Saturday when Charlotte comes to Greenville. Kevin, that we talked about the run game, but Caton Hauser had a great game passing the ball, and I think you said 19 for 24.
Yep.
Well over 200 yards, 2 touchdowns to Yannick Smith, and that phase of the offense performed well.
Yeah, 19 for 24, almost 80% completion percentage. And he's always been a good completion guy, somewhere in the mid-60s usually. But it was just a good day for him. And I tell you what, when you can run the football, it changes everything, because now linebackers are having to, they're taking 2 steps forward every time you snap the ball, getting ready to stop one of these running backs. And now you can flip the slants in behind them, you flip the curls in behind them, the dig routes, and they can't, get back in pass coverage and play the run at the same time. They have to kind of pick one or play in between. That's what gets you beat. So his ability to use the play action, to use that run game to his advantage, just allowed him to be so effective. He did that 1 interception, but 2 touchdown passes, 256-yard passing total. It was a solid outing for Caton, and I attribute a lot of that to the success they had in the run game.
Defensively, Temple had not had an interception all season going into the game with ECU, and I felt like beforehand that was a number that could change anytime you start talking about an absolute no picks. And Jamarly Riddle did pick off a pass. I think that led to a touchdown in a 14-0 lead for the Pirates. They got out to that fast start that Blake Harrell so often talks about, and that changes things.
Yeah, no, that's big, because, we've had games all year long where we started slow. And, I can remember Campbell, we started out fast. That was nice. But obviously they were outmatched playing us. So you can't really count that one. But then Army, we started out fast. And so that was kind of, exciting for us. We like to see that happening. And so to have another good fast start in this game, go up 14-0, and feel like everything's going well. At that point, you get the turnover. You got some, some momentum. Offense is working well. Defense is playing well. Against a Temple team that has, they were averaging 28 points a game. They put up some points. So it was good to see them jump out early because, even the announcer said, man, this could be a blowout if Temple doesn't turn things around. And so, yeah, that early 2-touchdown lead was big.
And then Temple came back and tied it up, to their credit. But East Carolina responded by scoring the last 31 points of the game.
Yeah, at some point they just kind of broke Temple's spirits, right? And it's one of those things where if you can't stop the run, you can't win football games. And that's why, the service academies has been successful over the years. Now their only issue is they, are underperform passing the football, and so it's hard just to do one thing. But when you can run the ball down somebody's throat and then, play action pass and throw a deep ball, it really becomes demoralizing. And I think once Temple realized they couldn't stop the run, they knew things weren't going to go their way. And so the Pirates just kept that pressure on defensively. They were able to slow Temple's run game down. They were able to get pressure on the quarterback. And then offensively, everything was working. And so when you're in that situation where, first down, you get 5 yards running the ball. If you want to run it again on second down, you can get 4 or 5 yards. And then you can take shots in between there when you want because, you can just run it for first downs. The game slows down for you and it becomes easy. And so those last 31 points, it was to the point to where you felt like East Carolina wasn't really pressed. Temple wasn't really scaring him with anything. It was just an impressive showing. I spoke with Coach Harrell after the game, and I told him that we haven't had a dominant performance like that on the road in conference against a comparable opponent in a long time. And I was just very impressed with what they were able to do.
Well, that's right. Temple had the command of the series with 6 straight wins starting in 2014, I believe, and East Carolina has now won the last 5. So the Pirates lead the series 13-9. Blake Harrell is 2-0 against the Owls with 2 impressive wins. We talked about offense. We talked a little bit about defense, and we have to credit special teams and Nick Mazie in particular. He's been very consistent, kicked a 46-yarder for the final points of the game on Saturday. So that aspect of performance is continuing in a desired manner.
And you talked about Blake Harrell, and some coaches just know how to win games. And, to come into this situation where, the Pirates were really struggling under Coach Houston in that last year, and they found themselves finding ways to lose more often than not. And you would see teams like a Tulane, a couple years ago, UTSA went on a nice little run. Army is another one of those teams. Navy has been one of those teams. North Texas has been solid. But you see those teams that find ways to win. Memphis, more often than not. And it starts to become contagious, right? Losing can be contagious, but also winning can be contagious because you get that taste in your mouth and you want it. And so you work that much harder to get it. For whatever reason, under Blake Harrell, this is a team that, they win a lot more than they lose. And so to go into Temple, even though you've won the last 4, it's still one of those scenarios where you're like, okay, it's a tough team in conference. This is going to be on the road. It's never easy at the link. And they just get after them. And I attribute that to the preparation they have as a coaching staff, the on-field adjustments that they make. And so, yeah, it's just been as impressive as it could be. And I think Pirate fans are very happy with Blake Harrell right now. You mentioned Mazie. He only attempted 1 field goal, a deep one, knocked it through 46 yards, I believe. He has been the guy that we can count on. He's been that guy that we know if we cross the 30-yard line and put him in there, he'll come away with points. So that's not something we've had over the last couple of years. So definitely glad to see him comfortable, confident, and the fact that the coaching staff, relies on him.
All right, Kevin, it's homecoming this week. Charlotte coming in, 3 p.m. kickoff, Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium. And you can hear Kevin on the Pirate Radio Network if you can't be there in person. But This Charlotte series has been somewhat mystifying. I would have to say that a 55-24 loss at Charlotte last year kind of helped ease Mike Houston out the door. He got one more opportunity at Army, and that didn't go well. And so some phone calls the next day, and the transition was made. That first game with Charlotte, 2023, Blake Harrell was running the defense, and the defense kept ECU in the game, but a lack of offense, a 10-7 loss. And then last year, the mindset is, okay, this is payback from that first game. And Deshaun Purdy had a big game. They had a good game rushing the ball. And Charlotte, 55, ECU 24. So they've been the dominant team in the series. And I don't think anybody that follows East Carolina football is not aware of that.
Yeah, I would, I'm going to take out last year's game because Purdy it was his coming out party. I think that might have been his first start or second start, somewhere in there. And he was just lights out. He was on target. He was elusive, big, strong arm. I mean, you could tell he deserved to be, he's at Wake Forest now. I think he went to Florida for a little while. Like, he's a big time quarterback. Reminds you a little bit of C.J. Bailey at NC State. Just a big time player. So I'll give them that one. They weren't quite ready to play against him. But the 10-7 loss at home, the Biff Poggi era where they just, they weren't playing well. It was one of those games where the Pirates should win that game at home, no matter what. And they found a way to lose it. And that was just after some of the disparaging comments that Biff had made about Greenville and things like that. It really left a bad taste in my mouth. I'm like, we can't beat these guys. That was hard to swallow. So yeah, you have back-to-back losses. I think this Charlotte team is a little bit different in that they're in a bit of a disarray. Coaching hasn't been going well. They lost players in the portal. They lost Purdy. Now he's gone. Quarterback play has been a bit of a struggle. So yeah, it's a much different Charlotte game than it's been in the past. This would be the first time that the Pirates will be deciding favorites. I think I heard at one point it was 3+ scores, in the 20s in terms of the spread. So yeah, I think this is a much different game. Hopefully, the Pirates are finding a way to stay focused this week and come out and play their game and not worry about how much they're favored by.
The also going on, in addition to homecoming, it's letter winners weekend, it's Hall of Fame weekend, and former Pirates Justin Hardy, Dwayne Harris, Shane Carden will be inducted into the East Carolina Football Hall of Fame, and all of those guys provide some great memories of their careers.
I actually received a nomination this year, Al. I don't know if you knew that, but I was excited to hear it. But no way, Justin Hardy, Dwayne Harris, and Shane Carden don't belong in this Hall of Fame. I mean, it's a great class. I couldn't be more happy for those guys. If you put me to the task, I'd probably say that Dwayne Harris is my favorite Pirate of all time. Past and present. I mean, he just was absolutely electric. And I've seen everybody over the last 20 some odd years while being on the air, plus the 5 years I was there, plus living in Greenville as a kid and going and watching games. And in terms of punt return, kickoff return, playing wide receiver, running the football, he even got some snaps at quarterback. Dwayne Harris was just an unbelievable player, and he went on to the NFL and did some of those same things for the Giants and Cowboys, returning punts and kickoffs for touchdowns. Just electric. I thought he should have got more opportunity at receiver in the NFL. He didn't quite get that opportunity, but awesome player. Justin Hardy, a local guy, right? Just 30 minutes up the road, a walk-on initially, but had some of the biggest hands you ever see. I think he wore like 3X or 4X gloves and just would snatch the football out of the air. And it's one of the teaching tools I use for both my boys. When you have to come back to the football and you got to snatch it with your hands out of the air, don't give the DB an opportunity to get his hands in there. And nobody came back with the football better than Justin Hardy. Matter of fact, I would say that that Zay Jones isn't as good as he ended up being without playing behind or with Justin Hardy, because the way he attacked the football, the way he played the game, Jay was able to emulate that and obviously surpass him in catches and all that stuff in his tenure. But just an unbelievable player, and at his size, I mean, Justin was barely 6 foot, and not very big, didn't weigh a whole lot. But he played like a big guy and came up with big catch after big catch. And then Shane Carden, I mean, it's just, in that Ruffin McNeil era where they were scoring, seemed like 40 points a game and put up 70 on Carolina. He that offense, that Lincoln Riley offense, he fit it perfectly. He was able to just dissect teams, and throw the ball well on the money, with good heat on it, and he had some really good receivers. So great class. Excited for that, and Leonard Williams weekend. I always enjoy that. It'll be a good game for Pirates, and hopefully they can put up some fireworks, on that weekend.
That's right. And Kevin, you've got a team that's struggling, as you mentioned, coming in. It would be a great game to have another fast start and kind of eliminate the opportunity for them to gain any confidence, get that homecoming crowd into the game and let them be enjoying the play of the Pirates. And that said, let's get into that Bonesville tradition if we can. Kevin's keys to the game.
Yeah, I'll just start by saying that, Charlotte is scoring about 17.5 points a game, but they're giving up 37.5. In this day and age of, air raid, spread attack, it's no shame to give up, 20, 21 points a game, somewhere in the low 20s. But to give up close to 40 is a different story. I mean, they're playing defense at an alarming low level, and it's really caused them to only have one win this season. And even in that game versus Monmouth that they won, they gave up 35 points to Monmouth. And so I would start with offensively, come out and establish a run. If you establish a run the way you did against Temple, this game should never be in question. You just run the football right at them. That'll open up the passing game as well. But that'd be my first key is to start out running the football. I do agree getting out to a fast start makes a difference. I anticipate a nice crowd because of homecoming, and it's our first day game of the year. Well, I guess last week they played the dates, but the first time at home in the day. So I think it'll be one of those situations where there'll be a nice crowd. People are excited about the game. So you get out early, get out to a quick, fast start, score some points early. That matters, but you do that by running the football. Secondly, you don't allow Charlotte to convert third downs, fourth downs. When it gets to be third and long, fourth and short, the Pirate defense has got to step up. You just want to kind of nix any kind of confidence they have. Don't let them sustain drives. So the defense has got to get off the field. 3 and outs are going to be, most important. And then turnovers. The only way you lose a game like this is if you turn the football over. I feel like the Pirates have to protect the football. Can't fumble it, can't throw interceptions, make smart plays, stay steady with the ball, moving up and down the field, and then get your takeaways where you can. But if you find a way to hold on to the football in this game, I don't see there any way that the Pirates aren't in this game all game long and hopefully up by a lot.
Sounds good, Kevin. And I think East Carolina's playing with a lot of confidence now in their ability, and hope that plays out on Saturday. And look forward to listening on the Pirate Radio Network, and look forward to talking with you next week on the Bonesville Pregame Podcast.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, Al.